Thank you. If anybody's recording, by law, if you're recording the meeting with video or audio, you're required to inform us. Just wanted to make that statement.
May I record my daughter and her friend making their case?
You certainly may.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'll open the meeting. Shall we do the report first?
Do you want to do the minutes of the previous meeting?
Sure.
Do the minutes from Tuesday, March 12th.
Any changes with these meetings, with the minutes?
I look very hard too.
Would you, I'd entertain a motion that would accept.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
All those in favor? Aye.
Any opposed?
So we'll adopt them. With tonight's, I should just mention with tonight's meeting, where we're missing a couple of members, if we have to vote on anything, we need a unanimous vote to have it carried forward.
Unless you want me to be split in half.
No. Okay.
Tonight we have on our work session a request by John Dixon for the Board of Health to include a ban on flavored tobacco products in their regulations. I believe we have some students to speak with us today. If you want to come up to the table and talk into the microphone, just remember to tell us who you are.
Welcome. Floor is yours.
Hello today. My name is Adrian Wright.
And my name is Sarah Rosa.
We are 8th grade student. We are 8th grade students at Monomoy Regional High School. As a part of our civics class curriculum, we are participating in Project Citizen, where each class selects a social problem and attempts to address it. Our class has taken on the problem of vaping among high school students. To reduce this problem, we are proposing to ban the sale of flavored tobacco and jewel products in Harwich.
Within the last few years, there has been a huge increase in e-cigarette use by middle school and high school students. This has become an epidemic.
Studies are showing that even though vaping does not produce smoke, it contains other harmful chemicals and can lead to nicotine addiction and other drug use, especially when used by young teenagers. One of the main risks of vaping is brain damage, which has long-term effects for memory and functions.
Companies mainly target 13 through 18-year-olds as replacement smokers.
It's not humane.
One way to combat this is by making these products harder for students to get. We looked at a number of policies that might make a difference. We chose to try to ban the sale of flavored tobacco products because flavors such as mango seem to be used to get young people to try them.
Similar restrictions have been adopted by 148 towns in Massachusetts, including Brewster, Orleans, and Yarmouth.
It is already illegal for underage people to buy these, but young people are able to get them anyway. If they were not available for sale in town and surrounding towns, this would lead to less use by young people.
We first proposed to change this as a town meeting article, but then we learned that this issue has come to the Board of Health for consideration. We believe that with your help, we can lessen the epidemic affecting the community.
Any questions?
Yeah, can you just separate the effects of secondary from primary vaping? In other words, the people sitting next to you, what are their risks as opposed to yours from vaping? Do you have any information?
There aren't many risks, but it's more the influence of other people vaping.
And considering time, primary versus secondary, primary, when you first start it, the first primary effect is that you can get addicted very easily. And then secondary effects include body harms that come out like late 20 years after starting to use nicotine and getting all those chemicals in your body, and they can have effects as memory loss and functions in your body, like maybe your heart can, like, yeah. I'm sorry.
Have you seen any evidence that vaping in the environment has gotten someone who had quit smoking re-addicted to nicotine?
We have not seen that such evidence because vaping is such a new it's a new popularity, and it's been around for about 20 years, but it's become popular in the last 5 years, specifically this year from 2017 to 2018. And it's mostly young people who do it, so we can't tell the effects of it until about 50 years from now if we can examine someone who does it.
Do the young people always do it in the presence only of young people, or do they do sometimes in the presence of older people?
It's mostly young people and at school, in the school environment.
But you want to ban the whole thing, right?
Are kids in your class using this right now?
Yes, we did a survey. We made a survey for our 8th grade class, and 64% of students are scared to use the bathrooms because they're scared to see people vaping in there. And then about 17% in 8th grade, Jewel, but about 60% do in the whole school.
And they're afraid to use the bathroom for fear of becoming addicted.
For fear of just seeing other people doing it.
But what's the risk to them?
Just influence.
Okay.
Sometimes they don't feel safe around them, and they know the effects of juuling and vaping, and they certainly don't like it.
What's the school policy?
I think it's
I think it's
a week
no,
suspension.
Yeah, a week suspension if caught with a vaping product, and most people like get away from it and try to loop around it by hiding it in places like their shoe or their pocket, and they do it in certain places that teachers can't specifically come into, like bathrooms.
A question. Is it mostly the flavored products that the kids are using?
Yeah.
But if any kids can't get hands on flavored products that they like sustain to need or they want, they usually use flavors such as menthol and mint.
Any other questions? Any questions from the gallery?
Yeah, we're the gallery. Just a comment. We had a couple other students make a presentation to the Board of Selectmen's meeting, I think a week ago. And it was a great program that the 8th graders were doing. They made a great presentation, and they were impressive as well. So we can be proud of what's going on in our schools.
And I was at the Chatham Board of Health meeting when you guys, or your classmates smoked, and they did a great job.
So what would you have the Board of Health do?
Try to ban the sale of flavored tobacco products in Harwich.
Especially in young children and people our age and older. And we would probably, if we can't get that goal, it would be best for us to make it only sold in adult-only stores, so, or make it seem for employees that they need to check everyone to see if they have an ID, because most employees lack that ability to do that, which causes some people who look the age to acquire them.
So right now, it's the age is 21 to buy any flavored tobacco in school.
It's my opinion that although there's no evidence obvious, it's only a matter of time before the nicotine and other, as you mentioned, what is it, 20 or 25 different chemicals in vapor will have an adverse effect on the surrounding people and maybe even the animals. Who knows? But the point is, it's not just kids. It's everybody that's running this risk. And that's obviously why I would certainly support banning the sale of it, although we all know you can just go next door and buy it, but, you know, one town at a time.
Very good.
How many towns have banned it?
On Cape Cod, Brewster, Orleans, and Yarmouth, and then in Massachusetts, 148 altogether.
And that's a ban not on vaping products, but on flavored tobacco
Yes.
products. So unflavored vaping products are still legal under that, under your proposal?
They're just similar restrictions, like banning all flavored tobacco products to just Juul or e-cigarette.
Are there any, what he's really asking is, are there any unflavored vaping products, and does anybody smoke them?
Menthol is,
Yeah, menthol's not really a flavor, menthol's an alcohol.
They use in certain bans, they like in the cigarette ban in some states, they kept menthol and mint in there. So they keep mint as kind of like a basis as smoking. That's I think the reason they keep it.
but we've learned that mint is actually one of the most popular flavors, like among high school students.
Menthol, as you may know, is not only an alcohol, but it's a local anesthetic. That's why people take menthol cough drops, so they don't cough so much. And because it's a local anesthetic, it reduces the discomfort of inhaling a foreign substance. But I'm not happy about that either. It was long ago shown that mentholated cigarettes do not in any way decrease the risk of tobacco.
Excellent. Well, thank you. It's a very good presentation with a lot of information. I think that we, as a board, should have a full group here, the other board members, before we put this to a vote.
I can almost guarantee Cynthia will support it. I would be surprised if it didn't pass, but you never know till you do it.
Yep.
We'd like to thank you for this opportunity. It's one in a million that we get to show off how much we care about.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I can provide next month the state regulations that included the flavor ban a few years ago.
Okay,
And so
thanks.
we can look at that next month or the month after when there's a full board and see if it's something that you're interested in approving.
Can kids buy this stuff now?
No, it's illegal to
Thank
buy.
you.
So somebody's
Have a
buying
good
it.
night.
Get that.
Someone's buying it for them.
We got a Forbes ID.
They have a fake ID. They're going to a place that's selling it to them where they shouldn't be selling it, or
Well, they can get it online.
they can get it online. Yes, anyone with a Visa gift card can buy tobacco products online.
I guess I can't understand if the bathrooms are full of smoke. The people in charge of the school don't do something make any sense.
From what I've been told through the youth counselor, they are trying to monitor the bathrooms more, keep the doors open when they're not in use. But it's difficult. There's not enough staff.
CCTV will be the next answer.
I don't know if you'll get that in a bathroom, but
Well, if there's, yeah, and the girls that do it because it's just stalls.
mm, mhm,
I'm not sure about the boys, though.
mm, mm.
Seems crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems like something that could get fixed, at least in the school.
Oh, we got some young advocates.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, what I would advise them is just set a petition up
Mm.
in the schools. And that way, you have all the students sign it. Is it?
Almost. I don't think you can get the vapors this way.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I know that the popularity is increasing by exponential.
Well, some people who smoke think if they go too vapor, that it's not as bad. So,
Well, it's true, it isn't as bad, but nonetheless, it's bad.
As
so
bad.
you go from 80% of lung problems to 60% of lung problems to 40%.
Right.
And then you become a medical hazard later on, right? So it costs the health system a ton of money.
Mhm.
Anyway, yes.
Okay. The second thing on our work session is a discussion on the draft amendments to the regulation prohibiting smoking in workplaces and public places to include a ban on smoking on town-owned beaches, recreation areas, and other town-operated properties. So what you have in your packet is a redlined regulation. It's pretty basic. It was originally from 2012 when the smoke-free workplace law came into effect. And what I did was I added some statistics in the findings and purpose, and then some formatting. Two new definitions. Nicotine delivery product was not in the original regulation, and it includes e-cigarettes. Public place is a new definition. It's an enclosed indoor area that is open to and used by the general public, including but not limited to any building or facility owned or operated by the town of Harwich. That part was already in there, but the additional outdoor locations such as public beaches, recreational parks, athletic fields, school grounds, conservation areas, as well as parking areas associated with these locations, it was added. And the interior of private vehicles is not considered a public place, was added as well. And then in section 4, smoking prohibited, a new line was added. Smoking is hereby prohibited in all areas defined as a public place in Harwich. So that would include the conservation areas, recreation parks and beaches. And then I just cleaned up enforcement, and I took the penalties into a new penalty section and added that not only town of Harwich health agents can be enforcement officers, but natural resource staff, conservation, or designated employees such as seasonal staff and recreation department staff are able to enforce this regulation. So it kind of spreads the burden off of my staff and onto other town staff. And the rest is just cut and paste from other sections. So it wasn't a huge revamp, but it did add some very important parts. So this is the first
I move
draft.
the adoption of the revised regulation on smoking in public places.
You'll need to move it to be heard at a public hearing, so we need to get this on the May meeting for public comment. So this was just a draft, okay.
Who's gonna enforce this?
So it's a Board of Health regulation. So currently, we are the enforcement officers for the smoke-free workplace law. And it's generally been restaurants that have been affected by this. But if someone over at the community center is smoking
You sign
in the workplace,
Could you sign in?
it would be up to the Board of Health.
Thank you.
Me and my agents to enforce it. This revision allows for police officers, recreation department employees, conservation employees, seasonal employees like gate guards and lifeguards to issue fines or warnings. So it wouldn't just be the Board of Health. But it's our authority that provides the backing for the fines.
So if somebody's on the beach,
A lifeguard could come up to you and say, it's a non-smoking beach.
how would they find them?
I think
They
do the-
call an officer.
Yeah, they call it, yeah,
So they would basically call
a policeman
Mhm, mhm,
who could write a ticket for it now.
yeah.
Yeah, they're not
And-
gonna,
no,
Have it.
No, they wouldn't
Yeah.
have that, that wouldn't be their,
Yeah, they're not gonna carry around the ticket book. But Eric Beebe, the recreation director, was here last month, and he said they do now ask people to stop smoking if there's been a complaint. So they'll have a soft warning at first, and then if people continue to do it, then they'll be fined.
well, that makes sense.
yeah.
Okay.
So
We didn't have a
we
second
we
here.
need a second and a vote. Would you second?
Second it, yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Passes.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll get that on the May meeting. It has to be publicized in the paper for 2 weeks, and allow for public comment on any Board of Health regulation.
Looks good.
What are the fines?
The fines, they didn't change. They're the same as they were before. The first violation can be a fine of $100, $200 for a second violation if it's within 2 years of the first offense, and then $300 for a third or subsequent violation. They're the same, it's the same structure as our tobacco sales. And it's a non-criminal citation, 40D citation. Any other questions or anything about that? We have about 10 minutes before our hearing starts, so I could do my report.
Yeah. Good for you.
So we've got a new process upstairs in community development to have licenses and permits signed off by the tax office. That's a new checkoff that we haven't been doing in the past. It's gone through a couple renditions of the process, but I think we've got it smoothed out now where we take in applications, bring a pile down to tax office. They check to see if there's any delinquent taxes on permit holders or properties, and they make phone calls or send out letters. We hold permits until taxes are paid. Seems to be working. The first round we sent down and the tax office
Yeah.
was telling us not to issue permits, but the taxes were only, a week or two overdue. So they've refined that to needing it to be delinquent for a year.
That seems reasonable.
Seems more reasonable. Yes, we
Yeah.
had,
It's likely to be more effective than tax auctions on the property.
hopefully it will get some of the overdue taxes paid. I was asked by the Emily Mitchell of the Council on Aging to be part of the Human Services Grant Committee. Human Services grants are given out by the town for different places like We Can and Habitat for Humanity and other services. They apply for these grants. So over the next few months, I'll be sitting down with other committee members to divvy out grants for human services. I was also part of the interview committee for the assistant town administrator position. There were 37 applicants, whittled down to 6 interviews. We did do 5 interviews, and I'm not sure why someone wasn't appointed last night, but they did make an offer. So hopefully that position will be filled in the next coming weeks. Katie and I attended the winter seminar from DEP, Department of Environmental Protection. There was a pretty good seminar on nuisances, noise, dust, complaints, odor complaints. So we were able to network a little bit with some of the people from the Bureau of Pollution, and we got some good contacts for any future complaints we get. Interesting change in the wastewater support committee. The 5-member board is now down to 2 members. 3 out of 5 members resigned. I'm not sure what the fate of that committee is. The committee was something I would attend once a month to give updates to, and they would ask me for some information. So for now, that committee is kind of on hold. I did get a summer intern from the Department of Public Health.
Dan. Thank you.
As I did last year, I applied to get an intern for the summer, and we were granted an intern. We're meeting with her on Friday, and my goal was to have her work on some wastewater things with the Comprehensive Wastewater Management Task Force and the Wastewater Support Committee, but now that that's not around, Larry and I will figure out a scope of work and some tasks for her to do to help the town with their wastewater commitments. And last month I attended the Chatham Realtor meeting, same as I did with the Harwich Realtor meeting, and gave them a presentation about our sewer projects and where we are and what to expect. got to go to a beautiful house in Chatham on Fox Hill Run for that meeting.
yeah.
And there were probably 20 realtors there, and lots of good questions. I think they understand the process for asking for waivers and understand that our Phase 2 project is underway. A couple years from now, we'll see sewers hooking up. Food service, I have scheduled a informational food service seminar for our license holders on April 22nd. It's because of the new food code, lots of changes in the new food code. I've come up with a slideshow for these food service establishments to come and ask questions and learn about the new food code. We're doing it with the town of Brewster, trying to combine resources and get a big enough crowd to really make an impact. And the Barnstable County public health nurse asked if she could tag along and do a hepatitis A vaccine clinic right at the end of it. Hepatitis A, as you know, is associated with foodborne illness outbreaks, and if we can get some of our workers vaccinated, maybe we can help out with preventing spread of hepatitis A. I've also scheduled a choke saver class for food service workers. It's a modified CPR class.
I hope that includes the maitre d' and the
Yes,
waiters too.
yes. So the one on the 22nd is more for the back of the house, and the one on the 29th is for the front, the wait staff, people that are around the patrons who are eating. I'm sure you've all heard of the Meet Your Local Farmer event. We've had that at the community center. I guess this was the 10th year. However, this was the first year that the health department knew of food being sold and served there. So it was a bit of a scramble to get everyone permitted, and I think we did permit everyone but one vendor who we will permit retroactively. But in the future, going forward, we'll work with the Conservation Trust to make sure that everyone is permitted. Let's see, Wellness Committee, there was a March monthly challenge, the Happiness Challenge. They're trying to do a new challenge every month. April is a steps challenge, how many steps you can do, trying to keep people moving and active. The VNA provided a nutrition detective program to the elementary school, 4th graders. It's something that I budgeted for, that hopefully we can continue with the 4th grade class years to come. It's a 3-part class where the VNA goes in and teaches kids, 4th grade students, about healthy food choices, what calories are, what nutrition labels mean, and hopefully it will translate to outside of school and beyond to the home.
I'm sure all the kids know this, but I don't know if all the adults know this, but there's a built-in step counter in the iPhone.
Yes, yep, it is very convenient. Emergency management, every month we do some kind of drill, and last month there was a Web EOC drill. The Web EOC, it stands for Emergency Operations Center. It's just an online drill to check in and make sure everyone is up and running and able to get onto that site timely and share information. Also in your packet, there's something from the Massachusetts Health Boards, and it's something for you to just read over, and if you feel strongly, you can send a letter to Capitol Hill. And also there's a flyer, if you're a board or committee member, the Office of the Inspector General is doing an educational program. It's here on Cape. It's in Centerville in May. It's for new board members to kind of find out what your responsibilities are and what your decisions can impact. It's a good training. If you are interested, we can sign you up through our office, or you can feel free to call and sign yourself up. You'd like to go?
Yeah, me too.
Okay. We'll
What day is
take
that?
care of that. It's May 14th.
What day is it?
May 14th is a Tuesday. It's a board meeting day. So it's at night. So that might make it a little difficult, but we could work around it. We can see about changing our meeting date. And that's it for my report, and it's just about 7, if you want to move on to new business.
Certainly. So, new business, Meyer, Wade, 11 Quasit. I'll open the hearing.
Sure. New business, we have a hearing for 11 Quasin Lane to consider a variance request to install a new Title V septic system prepared by Dan A. Speakman Construction. Variances from 310 CMR 15-11 minimum setbacks to allow a proposed septic tank to be 6 feet from the foundation where 10 is required. Variance request of 4 feet to allow a proposed soil absorption system to be 7 feet from the property line where 10 is required. Variance request of 3 feet. And to allow a proposed soil absorption system to be 17 feet from the foundation where 20 is required. Variance request of 3 feet.
Good evening, Dan Speakman.
Mr. Speakman.
So the variances we're requesting here tonight are due to the size of the lot. It's not a big lot. Nice location, but not a big lot. So we don't really have, there's a shed there which we can't relocate. It's just very difficult to get at that aspect. Not that it would help an awful lot. We've only got 20-something feet, 23 feet to the leaching system from the garage as it is. But so we're looking for the variances as Megan described. Is there any? I don't really have an awful lot to add. Are there any questions from anybody?
Gentlemen, any questions? No. Okay. Anybody from the room? Any question?
Any questions in the audience or comments?
Audience, questions? No. Recommendations?
The property is currently served by a cesspool system, which has failed. My report did say 4 bedrooms, but there's actually 5 in the house, and the design is for 5. So they're not proposing any increases in flow or extra bedrooms. It's solely due to the size of the lot and the number of bedrooms for the reason for the variances. I recommend approval of the variances with the condition that the property's restricted to a maximum of 5 bedrooms, no increase in habitable space or number of bedrooms without review by the Board of Health, and that the approval letter and conditions be recorded at the Registry of Deeds.
I move that the recommendations of the health director be approved.
We'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Good luck. Bring your tiny shovels. Your tiny lot.
Bring your smallest backhoe.
Bring your tiny backhoe. All right. Moving on. 52 North Road.
Hearing-
Ryder and Wilcox.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a hearing to consider variance request to install a new Title V septic system design prepared by Ryder and Wilcox. Variances from 310 CMR 15.211 minimum setbacks to allow a proposed pump chamber to be 7 feet from the property line where 10 is required. Variance of 3 feet to allow a proposed septic tank and proposed pump chamber invert to be less than 1 foot above high groundwater elevation. Variance request of 0.35 feet and 0.7 feet. Variance from Harwich Board of Health Regulation 1.210 to allow a proposed soil absorption system to be 87 feet from the edge of the wetland where 100 feet is required. Variance request of 13 feet.
Good evening, I'm Stephanie Sequin, I'm an engineer with Ryder and Wilcox. And this is a request for a septic upgrade at 52 North Road. The property's for sale. The Board of Health records indicate that there's a cesspool here, so the owners are getting approval for a new system so that they can sell the property. According to the assessor's field card, there's 5 acres. I'm not sure where those 5 acres are. A lot of it is wetland. This property it's on the corner of North Road and Smith Street and across the street from the Herring River. We've located the existing building and the wetland immediately behind the building. Showing the 50 and 100-foot buffers to the wetland leaves only a very small corner in the southwest corner of the property that's outside of the 100-foot buffer to the wetland. In addition to that, the entire property is within the 100-year flood zone. We did soil testing in this, in the corner of the lot, just to make sure that the soil conditions are okay, and they are. We did 2 test holes and found sand in both of them. The groundwater was only 56 inches below grade, and when we put the seasonal adjustment on that, for design purposes, we have groundwater at a depth of about 3.5 feet below grade. So in order to provide the 5-foot vertical separation between the estimated high groundwater and the bottom of the leaching system, we've come up with a design that includes a new 1,500-gallon tank, a 1,000-gallon pump chamber, and a mounded leaching system within a raised containment wall. The top of the containment wall is about 3 feet above grade, simply because we've got limited area in which to bring fill in. We don't have a nice big area where we can, sort of feather out the fill. So we are specifying a raised wall. The variances that we are requesting from Title V to allow the proposed pump chamber to be 7 feet from the property line where 10 feet is required, so we're asking for a 3-foot variance. The pipe inverts in the septic tank and pump chamber, according to Title V, are supposed to be at least a foot above the estimated high groundwater. We're not able to provide that separation because we need to get cover over starting with gravity flow from the pipe coming out of the building. So the pipe invert on the septic tank is roughly 8 inches above groundwater, so we're asking for a roughly 4-inch variance, and the pipe going into the pump chamber is 3/10 of a foot above the estimated high groundwater, so we're asking for a 7/10 of a foot variance. And from the Harwich Board of Health regulations, section 1.21, which requires a leaching system to be 100 feet away from a wetland. The proposed leaching system is 87 feet from the wetland, so we're requesting a 13-foot variance. The leaching system that is shown has capacity just for the 2 bedrooms that exist. There is no, we didn't oversize the system, so it will require a deed restriction limiting the property to 2 bedrooms as mitigation for the septic tank and pump chamber being installed in the groundwater and so close to the groundwater elevation. We've specified that both tanks be a monopore construction, so there's no seam in the middle, so we're to minimize the chance of leakage there, and also specified that the exterior of the tanks have waterproof coating just as a little extra security. So this has been, the Conservation Commission has reviewed this and they have signed off on it, so we're all set there, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Is the cottage on the water part of the same house?
It's owned by the same people, but they are separate properties. We have, the cottage is for sale as well. Because of timing, we weren't able to get, we have submitted a plan for a tight tank for the cottage, and that will require variances, and it will be heard at your meeting in May.
Okay,
But they are separate properties.
that's what I wanted, yeah. Good. Anybody else? Any questions?
Just curious, why pine wood in one place and cherry in another for the fence?
Oh, that's the type of tree.
Oh, it's a tree?
The circles indicate trees
Oh, I'm
and they're,
Oh, okay.
they're,
I was gonna say, I thought it referred to the fence itself.
No.
Okay, sorry.
I thought you were a fence guy.
any questions from the audience or
The audience, any questions?
comments?
Nope. Okay. Report?
It's an improvement over the existing cesspool system. This will be 5 feet separation to groundwater. They're not increasing flow. They're going to remain at the 2 bedrooms. I recommend approval of the variances with the restriction to 2 bedrooms maximum. Any additional number of bedrooms or habitable space increases will need to return to the Board of Health for further approval, and that the approval letter and conditions be recorded at the Registry of Deeds.
Do I have a motion?
Approval of the health director's approval of the property.
Take a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on.
The next hearing is.
You gave us your cards, right?
Yes.
Yeah, great, thanks. Have a good night. 15 Ocean. Next.
Hearing from Murphy, 15 Ocean Avenue, to consider a variance request to install a new Title V septic system designed by Ron J. Cadillac, PLSRS.
Mr.
Thank you.
Cadillac,
You may remember this.
welcome back.
We, this is what you approved
Yes.
prior. I think it was back in January.
2 meetings
And
ago.
Yeah.
we had trouble getting some estimates, and some of the contractors were concerned about the liability because this is so close. So I worked up a little thing like this, and I showed it to one of the contractors, and he immediately said, yeah, I want to put that in, not the other one. So it is a variance to have a 1,000-gallon tank instead of the 1,500.
Yep.
But you can see here how close it is to both of these buildings. Now, there's just danger of settlement at the corner of the building. Whereas here, you can see it's all along the side of this and that. Plus, there's a gas line here, and there's a gas line over here somewhere that is on the other property that wasn't dig saved.
Oh, boy.
So we'd like you to approve this version.
Certainly.
And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
How about the abutter? What does he or she think of that?
He was here, he spoke against the original version. This, in my opinion, is better for him. There's less potential damage to his fence.
Does he know all about this yet?
We sent out the green cards, so.
Yeah.
But I didn't get his back. So I actually called around 5. I called and left a message that, you know,
Well, it's heading
let me
more,
know.
it's heading more in the direction he was willing it would head. Smaller
Yeah.
tank.
Yeah,
So,
he was for the concrete and he was for the smaller tank too.
yeah, okay. Do we have an assessment from yourself?
I do think it's a better design than the last one. The 1,000-gallon tank is approvable in Title V as a local upgrade approval. And it's just such a site constraint here that we are trying to come up with the best solution possible, and I think we've done it finally. I recommend approval of these variances to have conditions that the property is restricted to a maximum of 4 bedrooms, no increase in habitable space or number of bedrooms without further review, and the leaching pit cover and riser are to be replaced with H20 components per the Title V inspection report, and that the approval letters and conditions should be recorded at the Registry of Deeds.
You're good with all that, Ron?
Yeah, the only thing, I believe I have a note on my plan, is we're taking a foot and a half of the driveway. And of course, this is all paved. They're gonna tear that up. And I think she's gonna put stone in rather than pavement there anyways. But I think I had something about putting like a bumper, tie-type bumper there, just in front of the septic tank.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if you were willing to add that to your conditions, it doesn't hurt for something to be mentioned in two places.
Sure.
You know?
It's an H10 tank.
Yes.
So we want to
Yes.
make sure no one's parking on it.
So that's the
Sure.
only,
We can do that.
yeah.
That sounds
Add a
like a
parking
good
restriction.
addition.
Okay.
Would that be like a berm, or would it be a pipe, or,
All it has to be is like a landscape tie.
okay.
I mean, if they want it to last forever, they can buy one of those concrete bumpers, but they're pretty heavy to haul around. You gotta hire someone to deal with that.
Okay. Do we have a,
I move that the correct this approval be, approval with the amendment as stated about the, I forget what it was,
The parking.
parking.
the railroad tie? Okay.
There it's,
Do I have a second? Okay. Do I have a vote? All in
Aye.
favor? Aye. Unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience, coming up twice on the same job.
No.
Got to get it right.
Seems like a better fit. Good luck.
The last hearing we have is for Main Street Stone Horse LLC, 872 Route 28. It's an environmental impact report to demonstrate compliance with Harwich Board of Health Regulation 1.211, installation of a sewage disposal system that will accommodate over 2,000 gallons per day by Moran Engineering.
Good evening. Dan Carotto from Moran Engineering. Here with Terry Eldridge, from Eldridge Surveying. Terry's been spearheading the design for this project, for this client. Also with us is Jamie Norcross from Riley and Norcross, who's been spearheading the permitting for this project. My particular concentration was on the water, the septic, and the drainage part of the project. There was a separate landscape design company, and Terry did the overall conceptual design. So, with this project being over 2,000 gallons per day, it throws us into the Board of Health Regulation 1.211 to go before, under your review. The overall project is a redevelopment of the site. There's been a couple over the years, since it was a motel, there's been a couple of different proposals. This is the last being a healthcare facility, but then that company moved, and the current owner was able to move ahead with his proposal at this location. So the project would be, one of the buildings, of course, was demolished after a fire, one of the big buildings. And then the rest of the buildings, or three more of the buildings, will be taken down. 2 new buildings constructed. And then the one existing office bedroom building that's on 28, that's going to be remodeled and used. So it'll end up being the proposal is for 3 structures, 2 new, 1 existing. The site plan itself, we go to planning board in 2 weeks. The main idea of the project is workforce housing, so housing majority from May to October, 6 months, and for supplying the workers a healthy, safe place that they're lacking at this point in time. The project did go to the ZBA, and back in I believe, December, and was approved there for the use. And there was, there seemed to be, for this type of project, a lot of support for the idea of giving, of providing a adequate, safe place for the summer housing that's needed. Providing a service, providing residential housing that's lacking at this point in time seemed to be the consensus. So, but going before, so provided to the board was the overall septic and drainage layout plan, a couple of plans that were part of the overall the overall project plans that went to the planning board. Then the existing conditions plan, just for comparison purposes, and the floor plans showing the layout of what the proposed buildings are proposed to be. So along with the main bulk of the plans, I submitted to the board the pertinent data needed to show, as 1.210 requires, the direction of the groundwater flow, if it's impacting any of the estuaries, and if it's impacting drinking water sources. And through the maps and maps provided by the Mass Estuaries Project, the wastewater treatment work that was done as part of the overall comprehensive wastewater treatment plan and the Cape Cod Commission maps. But what is helpful for this project in this location is this is one area that per the Mass Estuaries Project and the Cape Cod Commission maps and the waste treatment studies, does not flow towards the Saquatucket estuary and does not flow towards the Red River estuary. It flows in a southerly direction out to Nantucket Sound. And that's important for the nutrient treatment, of course. But having said that, we still are providing trickling filters and good treatment. And that would be one of the other submittals was the Aqua Point BioClear, their design data in order to meet the specifications of 10 parts per million of 10 parts per million nitrogen on groundwater off-site. So another piece of data that was given to the board was the nitrogen calculations for the site using the overall site plan and the overall nitrogen loading, and our goal was to be under 10 parts per million. Conservatively, it's a it shows it as 8-month full capacity. In reality, I think we can all agree the summer workers are here May to October. So the nitrogen calcs given to the board are 8 months for the 2 main buildings, which will be shut down in the dead of winter, and then full year use for the manager's quarters, which is that front building. So the idea of the project is to have an on-site manager to keep track of the buildings themselves. So, having said that, the idea is that these is a quick overview is the places that need the workers, say Owaquasit, their workers here, they will be providing the van service to bring their workers to and from the hotel. On top of that, there will be an RTA stop at the site for the workers to travel around. So the other advantages to this location, it's not in a Zone 2 drinking water zone. It's not in a buffer zone to a wetland, so we're not foreseeing the Conservation Commission needing to go before the Conservation Commission. As part of the planning board submittal, everything will go to the Conservation Department for their final review, but we don't see needing to go to the board itself because we're not within any of their jurisdictional areas. We're not in a habitat of endangered species, so we do not need to go through a natural heritage group. We're also not within a floodplain, so we don't have to deal with those regulatory hurdles either. For solid waste, there's 2 dumpsters slated for the site. They're shown on the plan. The landscaping will be done by an off-site contractor, so there will not be storage of fertilizers and equipment. So they're not the board. We don't need Board of Health variances. We've provided plan. I've provided a plan to Megan. I guess it doesn't show on this plan, but in the overall plan set and the plans that will go for the septic permit shows that a standard Title V system does fit on the site. So to run through the proposal that we have, it's the entire flow would go to one large 20,000 gallon septic tank, which would be more than 2 times the daily flow. Then per Title V to a secondary 10,000 gallon septic tank. From there goes to an equalization tank, which is very important in a system like this. The idea of equalization tanks is as you have peak flows, morning and evening would be your general peak flows. In a situation like this, there'll be less peak flows because people are going to have different work hours. But generally, you're going to have times when there's more water use and less water use. The idea of equalization tank, it absorbs that. So you have 5,000 gallons to absorb. And then so when you get to the treatment units, you can evenly dose the treatment units. So after this equalization tank would be 2 BioClear treatment units. They're the green trickling filters. That there's quite a few of them in town, actually. And the idea is the water, the clarified water after the tanks trickles over the top of the media, which within there you'll have the growth of the bacteria and so forth to clean up the water, to convert the nitrogen, the ammonium nitrogen and organic nitrogen to nitrate. Then the way part of the nitrogen cycle, not to run you through the everything about it, but the nitrogen cycle would be organic nitrogen and ammonia is what's basically raw sewage, and then you're converting through these filters to nitrate. Then what you're doing, you're recirculating after the filter. So on top of the equalization tank, you recirculate back to this first large septic tank. And that's where you're getting where it converts into nitrogen gas, and in that carbon-rich anaerobic environment. So the idea originally, I had laid out a septic tank for each of the buildings, smaller septic tanks for each building, combining into one tank. Once we went through the process of dealing with the treatment company. So I did the basic septic layout. Aqua Point, the engineering company and designers in Massachusetts for the BioClear treatment units. Then they come back with what they need, and they need everything combined into one septic tank, which gives the carbon source for this denitrification. So that came out the layout. So then after after it goes multiple times through these trickling filters, then it will go to a pump chamber, which then divides it into the two Presby fields, which are shown on the plan. And that for the final leaching. So there were multiple test holes on the property over the years. I included the ones that met the current code, the 95 code, on the plan. No groundwater was found in any of them. Taking the deepest one, the deepest test hole, and adding what the possible rise was in this area, which is, it's in a limited rise area, 0 to 2 feet would be the general rise over the years you would expect. But adding the rise expected gives us greater than 7 feet from the lowest point of the leach area to proven non-high groundwater, I should say. Using groundwater maps, shows an expected seasonal high water or yearly high water of 13. Using the groundwater map, which I did include, would put groundwater at about elevation 11, and then using a max adjustment of 2 feet would put it at 13. Our lowest field is at bottom of the field is at 23, so we're looking at 10 feet above expected high groundwater. And again, 7.7 we've proven. I tried to get actual water without bringing another machine out, but it's a very stony area, and it couldn't be done with the augers, as I found out after several attempts. So the most important about this site, I believe, when it comes to 1.210, is we're not in a drinking water district, and we're not in a the groundwater doesn't flow to an estuary or a pond. It's by the Mass Estuaries Project maps that I supplied. With that, Terry, if there's questions other than the sewage and toxins, I think Terry would be good to answer any of that about the project. And again, Jamie Norcross is here for any permitting questions. So I'll leave it at that.
Right now, there's a building there, correct?
Yes, there's,
It's 3.
I believe there's 3, and there's one spot that's just empty area now, parking lot that came down.
Is your intention to build this before the summertime?
No.
All right.
It'd be nice, but
So basically, what you're trying to do is to take these buildings down and make a dormitory.
2 dormitories, yes. Yep.
How many people are expected to live in these dormitories?
Total could be 180. Could be 90 bedrooms, 45, or 42, and then the existing building is 6. So that would be the total, would be 180.
When do you expect this thing to be built?
That would be a good question for Terry.
1 year from now. We'd like to have this open and running in April of 20, yes.
Year from now.
1 year from now.
About the existing building, it has its own wastewater treatment system, I presume?
Just Title V, just a tank and then leach field, and any of the previous uses or plans all just had standard Title V stuff.
And there wouldn't be any likelihood of interaction between your leach fields and that one?
Everything's going to be on this site itself.
Yeah.
The only thing is going to be the new project.
Okay.
Everything old is getting taken down. Any of the old water infrastructure is going to be removed or filled in.
With the exception that the existing building is being renovated as we speak.
Okay.
And He's in hopes of having that up and running by the middle of May, so that could be utilized by whomever is going to be using it.
That will become part of the new septic system, though, once that's built.
Or you're gonna add it to the system?
Yeah, that's gonna be added to the system, but the actual building itself is being remodeled.
Okay. And the other question I have, just from eyeballing your map, it looks like Skinnacook Pond might be somewhat at risk. It's down grade from the leaching field, and I just wanted to be sure that that possibility has been covered, because I think people do swim in it.
I was concerned about that myself. All the maps through the estuaries project and the Cape Cod Commission and the waste treatment studies, they show us just outside of Skinnaquit Pond,
Okay.
out of their watershed. So that became an important part of the project on why it could fit in this.
But you're comfortable that it's not in the wastewater flow?
I'm comfortable that the best available information says it's not. So I don't have any other information. There's nothing. The best available information says it does not go to Skinnacook Pond.
He's got it on that one.
Yeah, so they're there. Okay. No further questions.
Any questions from the audience?
No, it came to the board of selectmen, but only because we're not a regulatory body, it was a general sentiment, and we voted unanimously to support it. We feel strongly that workforce housing is something we need. That's the whole thing.
Thank you, Larry.
180 new bodies. That's impressive.
I think that it's not new people. I think it's people that come out of basements, and
Yeah.
I know that there was by the planning department, and I heard from the fire chief that the idea of people getting into safe housing was highly
Desirable.
highly desirable.
How are these little cubicles going to be furnished?
Floor plans depict
Sparsely.
Like a dorm,
I'm
twin
not
beds.
interested in the furniture, I'm interested in the comfort of,
There's
the
a,
occupant.
every single floor has a common kitchen,
Okay.
common dining room facility. There is a lounge on the first floor. On the lower level, there's a laundry facilities, and there's a huge storage area, whether it be for luggage or bicycles, will be provided down there. We've also providing bicycle racks outside for those who don't want to put them in the lower level. There's one thing that doesn't show on this plan, and that's handicapped accessibility, which we're providing handicapped accessibility to the garden level, the lower level. There'll be two ramps going to the lower level. And also there'll be 2 rooms in each building that'll be handicapped accessible, meaning that you'll have the 5-foot radius in the bathroom facility, which isn't there right now. You'll have all of the devices to hold on to, et cetera, for handicapped accessibility. Assuming that those are going to be utilized by handicap, which, how do I say this politically correctly? If they're coming here to work, I don't think they're going to be handicapped.
Not too handicapped, anyway.
Right, but at any rate, we have that facility available for them, and we actually end up, I believe, with only 1 bed in that room, because in order to get the maneuvering room, unless we put a bunk bed in it, that's going to be a limitation of 1 bed for those particular units. So the idea is 2 in each of these building and 1 in the office building.
You could have someone get hurt while they're here, so it's a good idea.
I'm sorry.
You could have somebody get hurt while they're here,
Oh, yeah,
Right.
oh, absolutely, yeah, that would be,
and that's
yeah, huge for that.
necessary.
So
Good.
the rooms will be available, and if somebody does get hurt that's on the second floor, then they can get relocated to the lower level, and they would take priority. To rent all of these rooms out to all of these people would be optimistic on anybody's part. If you know what I'm saying, it's, I can foresee all 90 rooms being rented out, but how many of those are doubles is another question.
Sure.
The other thing that's unique about this is that it's set up as 2 bedrooms with 1 bathroom, so that it's unlike what are the old inns where you had the bathroom down the hall, or the old dormitories like I had in college, that
Yep.
you know, we all converged onto 1 bathroom, and good luck first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Especially in the shower.
Yes, I was going to say the shower in particular, but
Be a lot easier to manage, I bet. It'll be a lot easier to manage, keeping it
Yes.
clean.
yes.
Okay, another one?
What's the use of that? What's happening right now?
It's been vacant for, I don't know how long, since probably 2008, maybe.
Yeah.
So it's just vacant buildings.
Nothing's in there now.
Nothing's in there now. The
Just
Cape
an
Cod
eyesore.
Healthcare was the last owner. They owned it for 3 or 4 years, and they were gonna, but then they bought the place across from Saquatucket Harbor and then moved over there.
Minor correction, that was out of Cape Health.
Out of
not
Cape.
Cod Health.
Okay. Out of Cape. So they found a better spot.
So there's no use, they have no use for it right now?
There's no use.
They sold it.
They sold it?
Yeah.
True.
The technical name is Main Street Stone Horse LLC. Who is Ron Rudnick?
Ron Reddick from Chatham? Yes.
He has a lot of these facilities in Chatham right now.
I do have a letter from an abutter that I was asked to read into the record. This is from Robert Rojanowski of 106 Depot Road. He says, "Thank you for your response to me. As you've offered, please read the following statement into the record during the Board of Health meeting on April 9th, 2019 regarding our concerns about the 872 Route 28 development project. We already see an increase in drug and alcohol-related paraphernalia, used condoms, and other harmful trash up and down Depot Road and Red River Beach, particularly during the summer months. The 872 Route 28 facility will be a turnstile for unregulated transients who will dramatically escalate the Cape's already burgeoning drug problems, including the indiscriminate disposal of bodily wastes, syringes, alcohol containers, and otherwise harmful trash in general throughout the neighborhood. Clearly, this is a critical health issue that should concern all of us, and made even more grievous by the threat for small children picking up used needles, being pricked by same, and becoming infected with who knows what, parentheses, potentially fatal, diseases. Again, something that should be a huge concern for all of us. Therefore, it is our sincere hope the Board of Health will agree with our request and deny a permit for the 872 Route 28 facility."
I hadn't heard that before, but I heard it there. I think it's exactly opposite of needle. First, as an on-site manager. Second off, we all know, well, we're all aware of the hard-working summer people that come here, and I would assume I'm sure the management company would be fine with requirements that anything of that sort is quickly removed from the premises. I understand a neighbor being concerned by the idea of
A second means of control on all of this is Wacquasit, for example, they guarantee the behavior of the tenants. Stop and Shop guarantees the behavior of the tenants. The guarantee is one of, if there's a problem, they get thrown out, and Stop and Shop or Wacquasit pays the bill. So if there's any problems, you know, I don't want to point to anybody up here, but that person over there, you know, they're out, and now Stop and Shop pays the bill for that person while they're not there. So that's the guarantee. And if I'm running the facility, I don't want that person there. That person's out, I still get paid. So it's a win-win situation for everybody.
Good to know.
And more importantly, even that Harwich is alleged to be the ground zero for the drug epidemic in Massachusetts.
I thought it was Chatham.
Well, Chatham too.
I thought it was more upkeep.
Anyway, the point is that the finding of needles and all that is not going to change in the town at large, but my gut feeling is it's going to decrease on Old County Road because people have a bathroom and people have a place to shoot up if they want to in their own private bath.
This is not, I know the summer workers I've seen here, the ones that are hardworking, they gotta go out of their way to get here. You know, drug addicts generally aren't getting out of their
I
own
understand
town.
that, but there's gonna be some anyway, let's face it. And when they are, they're not gonna be dropping their needles out on the lawn or down on the street. They're gonna be dropping them in the toilet or whatever. And so I think this will improve the situation. And I'm not all in favor of denying this project on that basis.
Any motions? You want to hear my report on it?
Yeah, I'd like to hear the health director.
Okay. This property is not located in a water recharge area or watershed identified by the CWMP. They're using alternative technology which will reduce the total nitrogen in the septic effluent by 70%. The use of the two BioClear models have shown that the mass balance of nitrogen loading on the site will be 9.26, which is below the 10 parts per million recommended by the Cape Cod Commission. I recommend approval of the environmental impact review for regulation 1.211 and have the following conditions: that the Board of Health will not consider any variances from Title V or Harwich Board of Health regulations. The alternative technology shall have an operation and maintenance agreement for the life of the system, including monitoring and testing requirements as required by the Harwich Board of Health regulations, and the approval letter and conditions shall be recorded at the Registry of Deeds.
With that, I'd entertain a motion.
Vote yes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in
I
favor?
have a question though.
Whoop, hold that thought.
So, are you gonna come before the board again after this is broken down, or how is this?
It goes to the planning board in 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then, no, it'll just be it'll be to the department for the
Okay.
actual permit, sewage
Okay.
permit.
So when is all this work supposed to start?
I don't believe I think Terry was opening for next summer.
No, when
No,
are you
the
gonna start?
work is going to start, August is what they're looking at as far as the starting date
August of this year.
of this year.
Been moved and seconded.
All those in favor?
So we'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Passes. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I do want to check that demolition of the buildings and cleaning up of the site may happen long before that. And, if you've been by the buildings, they're scary. Yeah, they're real scary.
Yep, they're
They
done.
filled in the pool.
Yes.
Yes, they filled in the pool.
This is a motel, it was a nice motel.
Yeah, the pool needed to
Oh, I
get
know
filled
it
in.
was.
Yeah.
I looked at buying it, but Fennel wanted $1 million for it, then he sold it for $500,000.
Mr.
It was my dream come true, you know? No, it would have been my dream come true.
You're gonna operate a motel?
all summer long, and then you go away for the winter, and how much better could it be?
Lots of luck on that one.
I understand, I'm glad I didn't do it, but that was one of those thoughts. Thank you all very much for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Dan, nice job.
Very
The last thing on your agenda is a permit list for approval. There are a few new permits. Del Mar Vacations is a new refuse hauler. They're basically just doing some of their own vacation rentals. Then we have Knobska Farms, which was an event permit for that Meet Your Local Farmer event. And then Sabra Reynolds McKean is a new stable permit. She's at 64 Smith Street. I did inspect the property. It's a new stable permit. And Carmen Shea is a new Title V inspector.
Do I hear a motion to accept the permit?
so moved.
A second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, passes. With this, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
If we go to that meeting, the